we're going to start. We'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Please join me as we pray. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come and once again do the business of the great city of Cartersville. And we ask that you would go before us, that you would give us wisdom in all the decisions that are made. And we thank you for this time. We ask these things in your name.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Drake, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1, here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Carrie Rolfe, Ward 3.
Here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4. Gary Fox, Ward 5.
Here.
Taff Wren, Ward 6.
Thank you, Julie. I will make note that Calvin would have liked to have been with us tonight. He's unable to be, and he'll be at our next meeting. So we wish him well with that, but he's doing absolutely fine. Our first order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from July 7th. And council, you've had an opportunity to look these over. Now would be the time to make any edits to that or any corrections. And if there are none, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. I will be recusing myself from this first item. I've asked Councilman Rolfe to handle that in Mayor Pro Tem Cooley's absence, and so there's a lot of you that I'm leaving the room.
Before we do that, I need a motion and a second to appoint Carrie Rolfe as acting Mayor Pro Tem.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, sir. The next item on the agenda is second reading of the 2-hour parking ordinance amendment. Dan, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, sir. This is, again, a second reading of this 2-hour parking ordinance amendment. We had a business owner downtown request that we put a 2-hour parking on Church Street, 4 parking spaces there from the discussion at the last council meeting. This was basically going to be 24/7 for 4 spaces there, but there was some discussion in the last council meeting to make it 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday only, and that's what we find because that's going to accommodate the business there. Particularly when the school's in session, there's no parking spaces along Church Street. There's probably 15 parking spaces along there, but there just has 4 of them be business, basically 2-hour parking limitation.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Y'all will need to approve this as amended.
Okay. So make sure the motion that's given that is approved as amended. Any other discussion? If not, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And so carried unanimously. On to number 3, and we'll welcome the mayor back.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Mayor left.
Randy, you want to speak to that?
This is a special use 22-02, a request at 40 Curtis Court. The applicant is looking to operate a gymnastics or indoor athletic facility at this location. Our ordinance does allow this by right in the light industrial, but in the heavy industrial district, it does require the special use permit. These types of facilities, the warehouses and so forth, are better suited with their large open space and areas. And again, that was taken into consideration when it was put into the zoning ordinance to allow this type of use in industrial. With that, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. I do believe the applicant is present.
Thank you very much, Randy. Any questions for Randy at this time on this special use permit? Thank you, sir. Seeing none, I will open up a public hearing for SU 22-02 and ask anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, to do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for SU 22-02, and council will take this up for final consideration. Will be another public hearing at our meeting on August 4th. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Menino, if you'll take us on to the next item, first reading of ordinance relative to Southern Cove.
Yes, this is a proposed amendment to the alcohol ordinance. It's an applicant-driven request. They're looking to amend the specialty shop section, which is allowed, specialty shops are allowed in the downtown historic district. And with that, the three items in that section they're looking to amend, they're looking to add distilled spirits. Right now, in specialty shops, you're only allowed to do wine and craft beer. Additionally, they're looking to change the percentage of alcohol sales which are allowed. I believe they're allowed up to 35%. They're looking up to 49%. And the third change to that ordinance, they're looking to eliminate the requirement for only craft beer and allow non-craft or other beers to be served with that. It did go to the Alcohol Control Board. Alcohol Control Board requires 4 members to vote for to be able to make a recommendation of approval. The vote was 3-2, so there was no recommendation of approval from the Alcohol
So there
Control
were 2
Board.
members that weren't there
There were
then?
2 members that were absent from that meeting.
Okay. How was that labeled? I mean, so it wasn't denied by the Alcohol Control Board, it just...
Well, it is considered a
Considered denied, but it was not because there wasn't
Quorum.
didn't have the 4
They
votes.
didn't get the 4 votes necessary to approve the,
Gotcha, okay. All right, questions for Mr. Menino at this point? Thank you, and although we're not voting tonight, and although in ordinances we typically don't have public hearings, but in this instance, I feel it's incumbent to get you all as much information to make an informed decision on items, and I've asked the owners of Southern Cove if they'd like to address council and answer questions that you might have, and also to maybe summarize where this request is, since it is driven by you. So if you would at least step forward. We need your names and your addresses for our city clerk, please.
Hello, my name is Jason Frederick. My address is 63 Riverwalk Parkway, U Harley, Georgia 30145. Southern Cove's business address is 39 South Public Square, Cartersville 30120.
And my name is Buddy Frederick. Home address 388 Oliver Drive, that's Dallas, Georgia 30132. Also business address 39 South Public Square, Cartersville, Georgia 30120.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. How are you? So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we do have some talking points, but we want to give you the floor first.
Well, let's start with a couple of things here. We talked in the work session about the request for the percent change. Can you give us a little bit of a synopsis on why, and is this, if this doesn't change, is this something that you need or something that you want, I guess?
It was something we had requested. It is not something that we need. Our alcohol sales are 11% of our total revenue, with our non-alcohol being 89%. So it doesn't really impact us either way. We were trying to fall more in line with another ordinance that we are comparable to as far as being able to serve alcohol and not have to serve food, which is the cigar bar ordinance. We were trying to fall in line with them, so we just matched their percent as well. However, it's not something we need. Once again, our alcohol sales are only 11% of our revenue.
Okay. I think the second item, and again, you can go back and hit on any of these talking points that you'll like afterward, or as you answer them. The craft beer or serving other than craft beer, is there going to be a different price point, or why is it that, of what benefit is it to you, and why should we consider this?
Sure. So the non-craft section, like Anheuser-Busch, you have Budweiser, you have you have Michelob. Really what that boils down to is we're losing sales. Our customers are coming in requesting non-craft beer. Now, so to break down wholesale and beer, it costs us about 20 cents less to pour a non-craft versus a craft. So that doesn't change our price point. I know the Alcohol Board brought up a concern about doing 50-cent beer night. I let them know that it costs 90 cents to pour a Bud Light, so we would have to pay them 40 cents to walk in the door and shop. And that is unfortunately not going to pay our overhead. So our beers would not change price, right? Our bottles and cans are different prices based on alcohol content and our cost. But once we dug into and started looking at the cost to buy a keg of the domestics, you're looking at a 20-cent price difference on the keg, so our cost would not change. What it has done to us, though, is we have people walk up to the bar, and we do have people walk out and leave because we don't have what they're familiar with. Coming from a completely non-biased person, I don't drink beer. I don't like the taste of beer, but it's not about me. The customers come in and they want to leave and go across the street and get something they're familiar with because they haven't heard of the 52 beers we carry. I get it. I understand that. And we just don't want them leaving to go across the street when they're already in our store and we just don't have the ability to serve them because our hands are tied on that ordinance. So that's the addition of bringing in non-craft. That's the reasoning behind that.
Can I get clarity on that? So
Absolutely.
you have 52 different types of beer in your...
We do. We carry, I believe we carry 8 on draft, and then we have about 46 to 48 different styles of beer in the cooler that's either canned or bottled. What we try to do is bring in things that you don't get all around us. But on the domestic side, we were looking at doing like a Bud Light, a Mick Ultra, just to satisfy the people.
That was what my question was going to be. So how many more would this add to?
Well, it's not going to add any more because we only have a set amount of space, right? So we would just remove 1 or 2, either from draft or from the cooler, to replace it with.
You're still going to have...
Still going to have the same amount.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity,
Sure.
just to determine whether what you're doing is for the lighthearted as far as a business perspective, what kind of additional investment are you going to have to make in order to achieve what you're trying to achieve?
So the additional investment for the non-craft sector is 0. It's just buying the product. It doesn't require us going financially out whatsoever. And that question on the distilled spirits end, it's $5,000 to get the license from the state and an additional $1,500 from the city. That's a $6,500 investment plus the product.
You don't anticipate expanding any kind of expansion?
Well, we have it. We do adult slushies in the store. That's probably one of our best sellers behind the bar is adult slushies, and those are not going to be made with distilled spirits. They're going to be made with wine based still, even if we get distilled spirits, for the reason of we hold a package license for beer and wine, and we can sell adult slushies packaged to go that are sealed for our customers to take home and drink by the pool if they want. We would not be able to do that if we made them with distilled spirits because we won't have a distilled spirits package license. So the most popular thing behind our bar is adult slushies. That will continue to be made with half the proof of wine-based spirits.
And to answer your question about expanding, we have expanded the bar some inside to give more room for more slushies, which again is going to use the wine-based alcohol.
So going back to the craft beer, and again, trying to craft ordinances that don't have unintended consequences or go against the spirit of the original, the craft beer.
Right.
Would, and Keith, tell me if this, can we stipulate that they're allowed to have X amount of non-craft beer to kind of preserve that craft beer feel? And can you also, again, they happen to mention 2 products that are actually brewed in Cartersville. I don't know if we have the legal authority to limit it to locally brewed product.
No, you could not limit it to
But
locally
can
brewed
you
product.
limit it to 2 or 3 offerings of domestic, or a certain percentage of it has to be craft versus?
You probably could
Well,
do the percentages,
Yeah.
but remember the position you then are putting staff in. I mean, staff would have to go there. Well, besides Randy.
Randy goes there at lunch.
Randy is the only person that's had all 52 of their beers. But besides that, staff would have to go in and say 1, 2 is and determine that.
The enforcement becomes an issue.
Yeah. I would not recommend it. I mean, if you want them to sell non-craft beer, just let them sell all malt beverages and wines that are allowed.
Okay.
I mean, it would be my simple recommendation because it's just cleaner and easier for us to enforce.
And our intention is not to go away from craft. That's what separates us from the restaurants and the bars around, is our selection is unique. That's in our tagline of our store. So we're not looking to go off of craft. We're looking to bring in those couple options for those people who just are not craft drinkers so we don't lose their business.
Is that the same kind of argument for the distilled spirits as well?
Similar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for the...
We have people come in on a regular basis looking for, a distilled spirits of several different types, and, we don't sell them. So there may be a couple with a husband-wife team. She'll stay there and drink slushies. He has to go over across the street somewhere to get something distilled. And so it kind of breaks that evening up for them, because he can't get what he wants there. She can. She doesn't want to go over to the cigar bar or to, the
Jefferson's
local.
or wherever,
Yeah. Well, then they can't take it out. So,
I mean, this is
so they're
sort
stuck
of-
wherever they go.
The whole theory is just to retain them in the stores so they'll buy something as far as your
The whole idea behind the bar, yeah, and that's the idea behind the bar. Dad and I, neither one of us really drink, right? But it's not about us, it's about our customers. And we have people in this town that like to have alcohol. We do not turn the place into a bar. I don't know how many of you guys have shopped there, but it is nowhere near an environment of a bar. However, we do offer them to consume beverages while they shop, and that's our goal. They're at the bar, they're drinking, they're walking around the store, and they're shopping, and it keeps the husband and wife from leaving each other and separating, one going one place and one staying with us when we can capture both of them. So it is costing us a little bit of money. We are losing revenue because we can't offer them what they're asking for.
And we have couples that are not happy.
Yeah.
Because they've got to split up and go different directions.
Or they could be happy, actually.
Yeah, it depends on how long they stay next door.
So one of the other questions that I had heard, I want to give you an opportunity to address that is, and again, this is more specific to your store, the fact that you currently have beer and wine and now asking for distilled spirits being served in an area, as you mentioned, is 89% retail.
Sure.
Some of that retail is geared towards kids. I mean, you got candy and you got Dippin' Dots and some of these other things. The distance between which there's alcohol being served and there's kids shopping for candy.
So, great question. And what we do offer at the bar is something for children as well. And let me explain that. We offer a craft root beer that's non-alcoholic on draft. And as a child, when you're with your parents, if your mom or dad's having a beer or a glass of wine, and you get a drink from a tap, that's cool, because that doesn't happen anywhere. So we've kept craft root beer on draft since we've opened in this location over 2 years ago. And it's a really cool driver. It's an experience the parents get to have with their children, whether they're sitting in the lounge, on the couch, at a high top, or at the bar. We do serve Dippin' Dots. We do have some merchandise that's oriented towards kids. If you haven't shopped with us, come check us out. But we do service people from 4 to 94 with the brands we carry. But no, we do not have, ticket redemption kids merchandise hanging up behind the bar like Lake Point would, behind their ticket counter. We're not trying to draw the elementary school crowd to our bar. However, we are conscious about where the placement of that merchandise is. And within 2,700 selling square foot, we only have so much space, but we do not crowd our bar with kid merchandise whatsoever.
Questions? Any other of the talking points that you?
No, I just ask that you fairly consider us based off, if you look at the cigar bars ordinance, not having to sell food, being able to sell distilled spirits with 49% being tobacco items. Honestly, if we can't change the percentage, we're not even asking for 49% at that point. We're just asking for a fair consideration based on an ordinance that's similar to ours that keeps us from doing what we should be able to do as well in our thoughts. And from what we've heard from our customers, their thoughts as well. So just please, fair consideration. We'd appreciate it big time.
Absolutely. I think we bring something to downtown that wasn't already there. An enjoyable place for families to go, have fun, enjoy themselves while they're there, have a drink if they choose to, not if they choose not to. We bring something to the town, and we want to continue to do so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Thank you.
Thank you for your time, guys. Ladies, thank you.
Any other discussion amongst council on this type of topic? And again, first reading of the ordinance, we'll take it up for consideration scheduled to be on August the 4th. Next item. So you handle that? The downtown district?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you.
Before I talk about the item, y'all have a handout, which is the ordinance y'all are considering. It clarified a few issues that were sort of vague in the initial draft from my office. Basically, the main issue it clarified was with respect to the millage. The millage is going to be set over the life of the bid district at 0.00127 per dollar. However, with the 2022 rollback, the actual millage for this coming year will be 0.00112. And that rollback number will change every year based upon whatever the rollback is for the taxes. But this is before you. We've had a bid district downtown, I think, probably for about 15 years now, maybe a little longer than that. 2002. And we are readopting it. We've held the public hearing that was required. Y'all received the petition that has been reviewed by staff, and staff says it's all in order. And at this point, you're being asked to consider an ordinance to readopt a new bid for this area, and to authorize the Downtown Development Authority to administer it like they have the previous bids. This is a first reading, so no action is required. Lily Reed is present if you have any questions of her, or if she needs to make any statements to y'all regarding the bid district.
I think Dan, or you can probably answer this. And again, the requirement is either for 51 of the property owners
Or 51% of the assessed taxable value.
And actually both of those standards were met in passing this. Lily's nodding the affirmative.
Yeah, Lily provided information that both of those standards were met. Mr. Reinhardt's office checked out the assessed value to confirm that, and Randy's office checked out the population numbers and confirmed that for y'all.
So one standard need to be met, both of them were met.
Right.
And this is something that the property owners choose to do themselves to improve the downtown area in certain ways.
Yes, if we didn't meet the 51% requirement, this request could not go before the council.
Thank you. Just wanted that out there and clarified. All right. Again, any other questions for staff on this? Once again, this is the first reading of an ordinance. It requires two. We'll take this up for consideration at our August 4th meeting. Ms. Reed, you get to tell us about the creation of a festival zone again, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here on behalf of a event rental applicant, which is the Intercultural Festival. They came before you last week for a similar request. This is for a festival zone for their Sunday event, which will be taking place September 18th. It is a event to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month, and it is going to be their first event with alcohol if you choose to pass this.
Remind me of the times.
It's going to be from 1 to 7 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on this item?
Have they considered, since the last council meeting when we approved the other one, have they considered any other dates beside the Sunday? Since we brought up that concern before, did they look at any other dates?
I know that my understanding is that their original choice for the Sunday dates has to do with the cost for renting a lot of their event infrastructure, bringing it in Saturday versus bringing it in on Sunday. And so I think that the Sunday is their preferred date for this event, but because of the cost. So.
They are much more expensive on the Saturday than on the Sunday. When we hire the musicians and the people that do the sound.
And sir, since you're speaking to council, I need to get your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's fine. Your name and your address so our clerk can put it in the minutes.
Yeah, my name is William Moises at 23 Green Apple Court, Taylorsville, Georgia 30178.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We did get approved last time for this Sunday, but we didn't use it because we didn't think we were prepared. We didn't have enough time to get the police to get all the things that we needed to do, so we decided it was better not to do it. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right, or we just don't do it. One more thing that happened with the preparation is that when we called the company that sells the beer, United, they told us they don't deliver it on Saturday or Sunday. So we have to get it on Friday, and we only had the permit for Sunday. So we need to get the permit from Friday to Sunday. That way we can get the delivery on Friday, and I believe she offered to put the liquor inside the building on Friday so we can get it on Sunday for the event.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And I would say that I believe that with this, we could actually still write the resolution so the festival zone would be in place for only Sunday, whereas the special event permit that they need from the state in order to get their Department of Revenue permit And that's what they use in order to make the arrangements with the distributor, and that is what dictates their delivery on Friday, so.
Yeah, that's kind of outside of.
Yeah. Correct, exactly, so.
Julia will handle all that.
So will there be any competition with the alcohol with the tacos and, what is it, burritos?
Jarritos?
Burritos? Is Jarritos gonna, no, it's just a joke.
Hopefully everyone will play nice together.
That's right.
Look forward to it.
All right, is there any other discussion on the item? If there's none, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you both. Had a great time Sunday. You did a great job with the festival, and we're looking forward to this one too. So, thank you.
We just hope that everybody can show up.
Absolutely. They got there eventually, didn't they? Thank you. Mr. Forsyth, you're up, sir.
Yes, sir. The first item I have is a water and sewer rate study. The most recent rate study for water and sewer rates, formal rate study, was done in the year 2000. It is in need of updating. I have a proposal from Hazen and Sawyer Engineers to provide not only a rate study, but a, excuse me, a water and wastewater rate analysis model. It'll be a Microsoft Power BI model that the city will then own for a not to exceed price of $98,000. It is a budgeted expense, and I recommend your approval.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Next item, please.
Yes, sir. The next item is the annual EPD water testing contract. We contract with the Environmental Protection every year to do our primary drinking water standards testing. The cost of that is based on the population of Cartersville. It's been $9,200 for the past 9 years, and which continues into this year. It is a budgeted expense. I recommend your approval.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I didn't even make that annual joke that I make about asking if they've got all their paperwork in order, but we'll move on.
Okay. My final item is request to purchase 2 towable compressors. We have 2 compressors that were purchased in 1995, 1996, respectively. We're starting to have quite a few problems with them. I actually have for the past few years, but it's been difficult to find any of those compressors manufactured and delivered here. We did finally find a couple of those. They do meet specifications. It is a budgeted item with Flint Equipment Company. The cost of each is $26,000. We're requesting to purchase 2 of those for a total of $52,000 even.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Not a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, sir. Mr. Fryer, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Good evening, council members. This item references a construction contract for the extension of natural gas facilities along Logistics Parkway and Highland 75, whereas sealed competitive bids were opened July 7th, 2022, with a low bid submitted by Southeastern Natural Gas Services of Rome, Inc. of Glendale, Georgia, in the amount of $194,100. This project is fully reimbursable by an extension agreement between the city and the developer, approved by council at the regular council meeting dated and executed June 2nd of 2022, whereas the developer agrees to reimburse the city all of the costs associated with this project. The developer has been notified of the bid proposal received and has accepted the bid amount. All affidavits required by Georgia law for public works construction contracts have been duly executed and were provided with the bid proposal received. And the gas system hereby requests council approval to award this construction contract to the low bidder, Southeastern Natural Gas Services of Rome, Incorporated of Glendale, Georgia, in the amount of $194,100.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions on this item? If not, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
sir.
you.
Mr. Gillum.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Coming to you with the Super 104 mower. That's the same from the two previously mowers that were approved a few months back. This larger mower will allow us to continue to reduce grass cutting hours from our parks maintenance schedule. Taylor Outdoor Equipment's given us a price in the amount of $25,644 with a delivery date of mid to late August. So we are recommending to Mayor and Council for approval of the purchase of the Super 104 mower, and this is a budgeted item.
Thank you. When did you say the delivery on that would be?
Mid to late August, yes.
Can't get here soon enough.
I know, right? Yeah.
All right, any discussion? Or if not, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you. Dan, you've got the last item for the finance report.
Yes,
please.
Mayor, there's an annual membership to Northwest Georgia Regional Planning Commission and amount of $23,222 for your approval.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, you are going to close us out with the finance report this evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. We're looking tonight at the May 2021 and comparing it to May 2022. In the revenue area for the general fund, they increased by $2.6 million. Expenditures increased also by $3.3 million. A couple areas in the general fund I look at on a monthly basis. Local option sales tax have an increase there of a little over $1 million. Building permits and inspections have an increase there of about $448,000. In the water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last year by $2.8 million. Expenses decreased by $9.9 million. This is due to increased personnel costs, increased operating expenses, increased debt service expenses, decreased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the gas fund, revenues increased over last year by $11.4 million. Expenses increased by $9.7 million. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, increased cost of purchased gas, decreased debt service expenses, increased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $5.7 million. Expenses increased by $4.4 million. This is due to increased personnel costs, increased operating expenses, increased cost of purchased electricity, increased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the stormwater fund, revenues decreased over last year by $46,000. Expenses decreased by $309,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, and decreased capital expenses. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last year by $368,000. Expenses increased by $235,000. This is due to decreased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $129,000. Expenses increased by $214,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, decreased capital expenses, and decreased transfer to the general fund. Looking at our cash position for the month of May, total unrestricted cash increased, total restricted cash also increased. In our SPLOST fund accounts, SPLOST 2003 has a balance currently as of May of $57,544.41. SPLOST 2014 has a balance of $231,991.10. SPLOST 2020 account has $5,831,461.58.
You got anything to comment on?
Just as Tom kind of pointed out, the lost taxes are up from year over year, which has helped driving the general fund up above last year. To take out the CARES Act, it was in last year's number of 1.1 million. General fund this year is doing fairly well. The electric fund, as I pointed out in memo, basically he's got a $2.3 million year-end settlement, which is the highest ever by MEAG. But that helped that to kind of turn around a little bit from year, but that's not something we can count on every year.
I've got a couple of comments and then a question. I did want to point out that as you were going through those numbers, you know, the gas fund in particular, expenses increased by 9.6. 9.4 of that is the increase in what the city is paying for gas.
Correct.
That's how much gas has gone up over a year. Same thing with electric. You know, 4.3 increase in expenses, 3.7 of that roughly is because of the cost of purchased electricity. I say that only to say the The city of Cartersville's rates are based on what it costs. You know, there is a margin there, but it's not a real big one, but it's based on what we're paying for it. So people can recognize, just like everything else, it's going to fluctuate. And again, when that price goes down, the cost that we charge goes down with it. The question I have is relative to the building permits and inspection fees, an increase of $447,000 over last year. What's driving that? What projects do we got going on?
Continental Apartments is one.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't know what, I know that, but I didn't know if there was one project or a few projects in particular that are driving that.
Yeah, we've got a couple of apartment complexes going on, lots of single family happening at the same time. We've had school projects going on. I should have went over the list before I came.
Well, I could have also asked you ahead of time. It just jumped out at me, so.
But a lot of construction's going on now. With interest rates going up, it'll probably stable out and not be quite as much, or not quite as much of an increase.
Yeah.
The next budget year.
Well, it's good to see a lot of things moving in a good direction, so.
Yes.
Any other questions on the finance report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before council this evening? Now would be the time to step forward and speak. Seeing none, anybody on council? Good. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Stay gold.